Making headlines for this seasonal equinox week of September 21st, media manipulation, this year's 9/11 in Libya, and what has not been apparently revealed by the mainstream media. Small steps, financial news stories hinting at further shifts taking place towards Asia, and the alleged new banking model being implemented. Disclosure waves, the people's disclosure gains momentum, as well as some interesting potential disinformation to explore. And an everyday project for everyday people with ideas and solutions about how to handle the upcoming changes and potential new system of abundance.
With news around, upon, within, and beyond our planet, the program making disclosure official. This is Cosmic Vision News. Here is Jeffrey West.
Greetings and blessings to all. Some rather suspicious information appears to be coming to light in the wake of 9/11 events from last week. The mainstream media would have the world believe that the Muslim community is upset over an alleged video and that all of the violence, ironically stirred up on 9/11, is the result of an alleged spontaneous riot. Information appears to be challenging the official story, much the same as the Colorado shootings and pretty much all events since the original 9/11. In what appears to be a fairly balanced interview on PressTV.com, based out of Tehran, Iran, the announcer, Marzieh Hajani, interviews a reporter from Al-Aqba newspaper in Beirut with a Muslim perspective, Stefan Sizer in London with a Christian perspective, and also Gordon Duff from the U.S. with VeteransToday.com. The full interview can be viewed from the link in the show summary. The following are some of the highlights of the conversation.
Well, the wave of Muslim outrage continues to hit the world like a tsunami. This as people continue to protest against an American-made film that Muslims believe is blasphemous against Prophet Muhammad and disrespectful to the sanctities of Islam.
Extreme anger at the U.S. spreads further across the Muslim world over the anti-Islam American movie. Protesters have burned the U.S. president's effigy in Afghanistan, and the Afghan parliament has condemned the sacrilege.
The Parliament of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan strongly condemns the making of a movie by an Israeli American that insults the Holy Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him. We call on the U.S. government to immediately put these spiteful and blaspheming people on trial and take action to stop the release of the movie.
U.S. Secretary of State has criticized the protests in countries such as Tunisia and Yemen, calling the protesters a mob.
The people of Egypt, Libya, Yemen, and Tunisia did not trade the tyranny of a dictator for the tyranny of a mob.
The anti-U.S. protests are not limited to Muslim nations and have already spilled over into non-Muslim countries as well. Australia and Britain have been the scene of angry demonstrations over the U.S.-made movie. Similar rallies have also been held in India. Almost all protesters see the U.S. government and Israel responsible.
I wonder what has been the agenda behind this. There may be a conspiracy. There are some vested interests that they don't want the Muslims and the West live in peace. They want this battle to go on. And who wants this? Well, the first place that we can point to is Israel, the Zionists.
Does the Zionist faction of the Israeli government have a vested interest in preventing peace between the U.S. and Islamic countries? With the Muslim community apparently seeing the U.S. and Israel as responsible, is there perhaps something else to the story? As this interview continues, the host, Ms. Hajami, brings in VeteransToday.com editor Gordon Duff, who offers his intel on what he has learned about this event, saying that it is not really about 9/11, but rather it is more about the upcoming U.S. election. Mr. Duff offers some of the more explosive information, although he may be a bit hard to hear due to sound quality of the original interview, and there is a brief moment of audio feedback. My apologies for this.
It's nothing to do with 9/11. It has to do with the American election. I work in the intelligence industry. Veterans Today is a publication that we operate, but I also work with an active intelligence group. We assigned members to our group to look up who is responsible. We found these facts to be true. That this is an Israeli operation against the government of the United States, because the government of the United States under Obama, led by General Quinsey of our military, Ambassador Siegel in Tel Aviv, began to stand up to Netanyahu, began to refuse to take orders from him. In order to retaliate against the United States, Israel used its assets within the Islamic community it stored for years, led by, in the U.S., Google Corporation, the Cato Institute, the Tea Party. There was never a movie made, nor a movie seen. It was a 12-hour broadcast by Terry Jones with a 13-minute preview of a film that had never been made. There's no Al-Qaeda involvement. The attacks inside Libya were done by security forces from the United Arab Emirates, trained by the American company DynCorp, done in cooperation with Israel. This is entirely an intelligence operation by Israel, an extremely successful one. Netanyahu is cheering on the mobs going after his American enemies now. Americans have tired of Islam. It's been in every paper in the world. Netanyahu has been interfering in the American election on behalf of former Governor Romney, who is far, far behind. So Israel launched this operation with the aid of news and TV groups within Islam that it controls, has put spies into for years. This was released, and now Islam is, if anything, this is one of the biggest defeats for Islam in history, because Islam, at a time when America had turned away from Israel and toward Islam, Islam has become a tool of an Israeli conspiracy.
And from the world of Islam, where then should the Muslims stand? On the one hand, they want to stand strongly and send a message that they will not let certain lines be crossed, but on the other hand, they do not want to be pawns in the hands of others.
Yes. I think that what your guest from Ohio just said is very important, and I think it deserves more insight, and it deserves an open investigation. I think this should be done, and this is the responsibility of Arab and Islamic nations to expose the information that your guest from Ohio has gathered, and apparently he talked about his background, and apparently has adequate information that should be I think there should be more, more emphasis on what he said and on the Israeli connection.
So, Mr. Duff, I want you to expand on what you were saying a little bit as far as that you felt that it was an Israeli operation. Why would you say that? And also, in one of your articles recently, you have talked about, pointed out about Terry Jones being a CIA. So I'd like to look at both of those.
The 13-minute video was shown by Terry Jones on a streaming broadcast worldwide. That broadcast from a small church with no funds cost $20 million. We traced down the funds for the broadcast. It was simulcast around the world for 12 hours, and this film was the least insult against the prophet. Terry Jones was 100 times worse. Terry Jones began with the CIA in 1977, was sent to work in Germany under a CIA NATO operation known as Operation Gladio, where he recruited terrorists who were supposed to, in case of the Soviet invasion, stay on in Europe as an underground. He was thrown out of the CIA because of mental instability, and found friends among the Israeli community in the U.S. and the extremely powerful AIPAC lobby that dictates to the American Congress. The group that we have found that planned this video, that underwrote the funding of the full 12 hours, not just 13 minutes, was called PJ Media, or Pajama Media. Very funny name. But in actuality, they are funded by Sheldon, a strong supporter of Mitt Romney, an Israeli-American citizen, and the Cato Institute, which is a partner of PJ Media and a Washington think tank that during the Bush years advised the Central Intelligence Agency, but no longer does. The Cato Institute was originated in 1977 by Charles Koch, an Israeli-American. He and his brother just reassumed control of the Cato Institute, one of the most powerful think tanks in Washington. And as far as the people involved in the attack in Libya, 4 Americans were killed and admitted. These were Navy SEALs, highly trained. They were trained by American DynCorp. The Americans who trained the attack team had trained them within the UAE for 24 months for operations against Iran. And instead they were used in operations against the U.S. The commander of the U.S.-based group that worked in the UAE, frankly, had worked for me at one time before accepting this assignment. This is the most difficult thing to understand, is that the U.S. has been in a daze for years after 9/11. The U.S. was turned against Islam. Now Islam is being turned against the U.S. There's only one group that profits from that. That's Israel. And in this case, because President Obama, after all of this time, has begun to learn the lesson of his ways, that the United States cannot remain enslaved.
Mr. Nashabi, if it is an Israeli operation to basically try to embarrass the American government, what do you think is the correct reaction in general? Because you have said, of course, the roots of a lot of these demonstrations is the overall anti-Washington sentiment that exists in these countries because of policy after policy that people perceive as being anti-Islamic. So where do we stand at this point? If really the United States has been embarrassed by this, by the Israelis, what do you think that should be done at this point in time?
Yeah, I think there should be immediately a call for an emergency meeting for the Islamic Conference countries, and I think there is also a move tomorrow in the evening. There's going to be a speech by Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah in Beirut, and there's going to be after tomorrow on Monday a massive rally, and in tomorrow's speech Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah will call for Islamic unity, because I think we have to take this opportunity in order to deal with the divisions among Muslims, among Shia and Sunni. These divisions have been fueled by the Americans and by the Israelis in Iraq and in Syria and in other parts of the Arab and Islamic world.
Pastor Sizer, how do you see it? What is the key right now? As our previous guest talked about Muslim unity, but what about unity between religious people in general? What needs to be done at this point in time?
I would hope that we can have a timeout, that the radio and TV stations throughout the Middle East would broadcast the statements being made by political and religious leaders in the West repudiating the film. We must remember that Terry Jones, his church has 25 members, hardly significant. The entire cast and crew who made the film have repudiated it. They said they were grossly misled by its intent and purpose. Their words in the film were overdubbed with new statements. They said they were shocked at the rewriting of the script and the lies they were told about being involved.
It is unknown at this time who is initially credited with doing this research, but sources are now showing that what appears to be a major discrepancy between what the U.S. government communicates to the world and what the mainstream media communicates. The mainstream media, in various reports, appear to have been getting their facts mixed up. In some reports, the location that was attacked in Benghazi has been called an embassy, and in other reports, a consulate. And in Russia Today, RT.com, it had been called a diplomatic mission. This may be the reason for all the confusion. According to the State Department website for embassies, usembassy.com, the only location reported as having an embassy, a consulate, or diplomatic mission in Libya is Tripoli. There is nothing listed for Benghazi. Therefore, this raises the question of what exactly was alleged to have been attacked in Benghazi. Was Chris Stevens really an ambassador? And if so, what was he doing 650 kilometers from the officially listed embassy location? Information sent to CBN from a listener reports that Chris Stevens was a returned Peace Corps volunteer who served in Morocco before joining the State Department. At this moment, it is unclear if Mr. Stevens was really an ambassador and why he was sacrificed on lies that were similar to those told to the American people on the original 9/11. A video from Infowars.com has been posted with an interview claiming proof that the killing of Chris Stevens, who has been claimed to be the ambassador, was an inside job. CVN will not air this interview, but anyone interested in following more on that particular information from Alex Jones can find the link in the summary. As more truth comes out, it begins to become more clear just how interconnected so many issues are, so as to prevent people from connecting all of the dots together. In financial news this week, in what may be a preliminary step towards the introduction of the new banking system, it was reported by London's Guardian.co.uk website that Russia has apparently written off $10 billion of North Korean debt. The gesture is being sold as a public relations ploy, a step by Russia to boost ties with the reclusive nation's new leader Kim Jong-un. In the deal, Russia will write off almost all of the $11 billion in debt the country has to Russia, and Russia will reinvest $1 billion as part of a debt-for-aid plan to develop energy, healthcare, and educational projects in North Korea. According to the article, the deal comes as Moscow looks to boost its economic presence in Asia amid falling demand from the crisis-hit economies of the West. The deal announcement came on the heels of Moscow's hosting of an Asia-Pacific summit in the far eastern city of Vladivostok. Alexander Vorontsov, a North Korean expert from the Russian Academy of Sciences, indicated that boosting its development in the Asia-Pacific region is in the interests of Russia. This would also hint that greater emphasis is slowly being shifted toward the BRICS plus 140 alliance economic model. In a further hint of economic change, Kenneth Shortkin Jr. of the Examiner.com website reported that on September the 6th, China made a significant announcement that would affect the U.S. dollar. Several days later, on September the 11th, in a very veiled message open for misinterpretation, Lindsey Williams, former minister to the global oil companies during the building of the Alaska pipeline, announced the most significant event to affect the U.S. dollar since its inception as a currency. According to Williams, the most significant day in the history of the American dollar since its inception happened on September the 6th. On that day, something took place that is going to affect your life, your family, your dinner table, more than you can possibly imagine. Just a few days ago, China made the official announcement saying that their banking system is ready, all of their communications systems are ready, all of their transfer systems are ready, and as of that day, any nation in the world wishing to buy, sell, or trade crude oil can do so using the Chinese currency and not the U.S. dollar. Most listeners will not likely fully understand the full significance of this, and indeed it is very probable that even I do not fully understand everything here. China, however, is not a natural oil-producing nation, and therefore those familiar with oil marketing and selling may ask how this Chinese announcement will have any impact on the dollar in the U.S. market, or rather in the oil market. The answer came the next day when it was announced that Russia and China had entered into a new trade agreement where Russia said it would sell oil to China in any and all amounts they desired. I'm not an international finance expert here, but it appears that these are the beginning steps to slowly shut down the fraudulent fractional reserve U.S. dollar system and slowly begin integrating the alleged new economic model of the BRICS plus 140 alliance of countries. Should this be a threat to the U.S.? If some think the answer is yes, Why then is the U.S. allegedly training with Russian military in Colorado, and why are they apparently doing naval drills with Chinese ships off the coast of San Francisco? Make no mistake, this alliance is positioning itself to put the nail in the coffin to a fraudulently corrupt system, and it appears to have support from at least one faction of controlling power within the institutions of leadership in Washington, presumably the one that now has greater control over the shadow corporate government. Back in 2010, China and Russia had already made agreements to promote bilateral trade between the two countries in their own currencies instead of the U.S. dollar, beginning the process of separation from the U.S. dollar as a global reserve currency. In other financial news, in a business article from September 17th, Daryl Guppy from CNBC.com reported that the U.S. dollar index is headed for rapid collapse. He starts out his article by helping people to understand that the term quantitative easing is apparently just a flashy term for a currency war. Guppy writes that a weak U.S. currency puts continued pressure on the Japanese yen, the Chinese yuan, the South Korean won, the Aussie dollar, and other currencies. The U.S. dollar index is a basket of currencies consisting of the euro, the yen, the British pound, the Canadian dollar, Swiss franc, and Swedish krona. This index is used as a measure of the strength or weakness of the U.S. dollar. Guppy goes on to predict that there is very little confidence in the U.S. dollar at this point, without going into detail about why this is happening and what will ultimately replace it. Last week, CVN reported on what appeared to be a suspicious disappearance of the incoming Chinese leader Xi Jinping. In his weekly message, former Asian bureau chief for Forbes magazine Ben Fulford reports that Xi Jinping was in hiding to heal the bruises he allegedly received from being beaten by his handlers. Xi apparently works for Jean-Daniel Cohen of the French Hoche Group and has been apparently ordered to provoke anti-Japanese demonstrations in China. According to Fulford, Cohen was not returning his calls for comment. Fulford goes on to report on the murder last week of Japan's Financial Services Minister Tadahiro Matsushita, and that this murder was linked to a cabal attempt to extort money. Japanese public security police sources are quoted as saying, Matsushita had refused to hand over $5 trillion to agents working for the cabal. Matsushita was forced to write wills at gunpoint and was then drugged and strangled, according to the police sources. The sudden death of Shinichi Nishimiya, Japan's newly appointed ambassador to China, is believed to be linked to the cabal as well, although investigations have only just begun. In his weekly message this week from the Galactic Federation, Sheldon Nidle offers this message. Your world continues to be caught in the conflict between the Dark Cabal and our earthly forces. We are using our resources to keep the cabal at bay, but nevertheless it persists in pursuing a number of courses whose aim is to destabilize the efforts of our allies or to cause another full-scale war. For example, it has further inflamed the Middle East and created situations that once would have led to serious diplomatic interactions. At the core of this stands the U.S. government and its special interest friends. We have sent diplomatic liaisons to the Middle East and have convened a series of meetings with the U.S. government to emphasize our no-war policy. In the same vein, we are underwriting our meetings with the regional powers in the Middle East, and these will set the basic policy for resolving the Syrian crisis. We intend to begin to resolve this situation by sorting out the current problems, and we are also monitoring the Iran difficulties. As the new governance is set to start shortly, we wish to firmly establish the parameters for a new era of peace. The programs to push in the new financial system are progressing globally. Our associates are ready to expand the way in which the elements of this new system are openly introduced to you. These programs involve instituting a system of prosperity and debt forgiveness. We have secretly informed many governments now being pressured by the banking institutions of your world to be patient and to not give in to the growing coercion emanating from the dark cabal. These strong-arm tactics will shortly cease as the new hard currency system is revealed. In addition, we have set aside some currency resources to transform your debt into prosperity. It is vital that NISARA be announced in America and implemented globally. We have instructed those who are to be governmental caretakers to follow its various guidelines. Those in charge of the global depositories of precious metals are readying the programs that back the new financial system. This system consists of several regional currencies which will serve as the main exchange mediums. As they circulate, these primary currencies will become the stabilizing instruments that will ensure an end to the massive inflation which characterizes your current system and which has plagued your societies for so long. Bear in mind that this coming financial system is intended to be a transitional link to a moneyless society and to the rise of indelible and permanent prosperity, as our space family is to provide us with the technology to feed, clothe, and house the entire planetary populace. The intent is to move from the present state of egregious want to a true spiritual and physical abundance, as this is an important step on your spiritual journey. It has now been 1 week since the People's Disclosure video has been released to the world. It has been amazing to see and feel how the world has responded to this video, and certainly everyone on the team of Inlight Radio extends love and gratitude to each of you for your light and your energies of support. The response has been overwhelming in a number of ways. A team of translators with GalacticChannelings.com website has wonderfully taken up the task of helping to put this video into as many languages as possible around the world so it can be shown to people who do not speak English. Indeed, I think we all look forward to the day when we can use a universal translator to speak from our hearts and have it perfectly translated to others in their language, until the time comes when we choose to communicate telepathically. At this time, it appears that there will soon be over 30 languages and possibly even 40 in the near future. All videos will be posted on the Inlight Radio YouTube page, so the link will be the same for every language. This will make it easier for everyone. That link is www.bit.ly/capital S as in Stockholm, small f as in Foxtrot, capital G as in Golf, small e as in Elephant, capital O as in Oscar, capital Y as in Yankee. It appears that we have received the attention of people within the Dark Cabal, as the counter on the video froze on late Wednesday, with the counter around 87,600, and as of today, it is still showing 87,600. Given the success of the video up to this point, this number is most definitely much higher by now. So it seems clear that someone, somewhere, is trying to keep this video from going even more viral. This is a call to our galactic families to assist in protecting the internet communications of all humans choosing to act in service to humanity, our planet, and our galactic families. All work deserves protection and assistance for the highest good of all. On Monday's Hour with an Angel, Archangel Michael, through Linda Dillon, pointed out that the significance of the video was greater than perhaps most can imagine.
I wish to say thank you on behalf of many for announcing disclosure, for you have taken responsibility. You have claimed your freedom, your autonomy, your authority, and you have committed and declared yourself to the human collective. You are leading the way, and you are showing those in authority that there is nothing to be afraid of. So for this, we congratulate you and we thank you.
will it have an impact on global leaders and journalists?
Let us assure you that it has been observed many times by what you believe to be mainstream media. You have dropped not a pebble, not a stone, not a rock, but a very big boulder into what is really a very small pond of the mainstream media, the political leaders, of political leaders who are truly leaders, and of the human collective consciousness. There are beings who may never, ever watch this video or the videos that spin out from this project. It does not matter, because what is occurring is in the mix of the human collective consciousness, the declaration of it in such a succinct, clear, non-invasive way. For your video has come in peace. And to me, that was very important, that it not have any element of fear, that it be infused with love and celebration and joy, and you have made sure of that. That is all being communicated to the subconscious and the unconscious of the collective. In the physical reality of the leadership, it has been observed and it is being pushed up the chain of command, and in the media circles, the same thing. The effect, the announcement has been heard, and it is echoing all over Gaia.
Once again, the short link to the Enlight Radio YouTube channel is www.bit.ly/S, small f, capital G, small e, capital O, capital Y. Occasional announcements and postings may be made on CVN and the 2012scenario.com as new languages are released. Thank you for bringing your heart energies to this announcement. May the leaders and journalists realize that the pressure is now off them, so they may choose now to do the right thing instead of choosing to do things right. Some interesting potential disinformation news to comment on this week. Last week, CVN reported on a story claiming that U.S. and Chinese military vessels were doing something off the coast of San Francisco. On September 17th, VeteransToday.com ran a story on reports of Chinese naval vessels off the U.S. coast of Northern California in particular, but the reports have been denied. The website then adds, quote, "Now, an Asian intelligence agency reports that a combined fleet operation between the U.S. and China has been going on, a full combat operation against what we are told is a highly unfriendly extraterrestrial threat," unquote. According to sources, the true nature of both the threat and the extent of the multinational military force used is beyond any imaginable classification level. The story appears to have originated about a week ago from a report by Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot. Now, if this is not a false flag alarm in your mind right now, perhaps it should. Let's consider a few things, and then you can decide for yourself. According to the reports above, the true nature of the threat is alleged to be beyond any imaginable classification level. Yet, on the same website, another story was running talking about World War III starting on September 25th, as Israel is claiming that Iran is close to having a nuclear weapon and that they want to attack Iran on Yom Kippur. That would be 4 days from now. Consider the movie Independence Day many years ago. During the Hollywood E.T. invasion in that movie, all countries rallied together because the threat was against the planet and against humanity. All global differences were forgotten in that moment. If the threat of an E.T. attack is beyond all classification levels, why then are the media publishing stories of war between Israel, Iran, and any other country for that matter? If the threat is planetary, and this would be the logical assumption, assuming one believes what these sources are saying, then you can be very sure that no time, energy, and resources would be wasted on fighting each other if there was a threat beyond all classification levels facing our planet. Next, look at the technology. Numerous sources have reported on the abilities of ETs to shut down nuclear capabilities. You can be sure that if any ET is capable of doing this, there would be no need to be practicing war games on ships that are snails compared to ET transportation. Does the cabal have any technology that could address an alleged ET threat? Several months ago, a U.S. drone was successfully landed in Iran using technology that was beyond the quintuple encryption technology that David Wilcock reported these military drones as having. Wilcock added that the drones were allegedly the most advanced, publicly declared piece of equipment the cabal military had, and that technology had been infiltrated. There is allegedly technology that was used to bring down at least one, if not more, ET craft at Roswell using some kind of energy technology. It was alleged that the drone was brought down using technology from the Keshe Foundation. Mr. Keshe is Iranian, and his foundation has indicated that today it would begin releasing Phase 1 of its space-oriented technologies. Therefore, using the veiled language that the media often uses to brainwash people, does the ET threat refer to space technologies that apparently today were being released to scientists around the world? In the past, the media played up the alleged threats between the U.S. and Russia and the U.S. and China. Yet, over the last little while, there have been reports of U.S.-Russia cooperation in Colorado, and now U.S.-China cooperation off the coast of San Francisco. We're currently watching the criminally fraudulent fractional reserve banking model implode beyond recognition. This has been the source of funding for all their black budget projects. Reports have been offered about liens being put on the major global financial institutions to prevent them from being able to do anything much longer. The BRICS plus 140 Group of Nations Alliance apparently has a new global economic system ready to roll out once the current one collapses. Russia has forgiven a massive amount of the North Korean debt, which is an act believed to be linked to the new financial system. North Korea is alleged to be an enemy to the U.S., and yet the U.S. and Russia are allegedly still training together, on U.S. soil nonetheless. Russia and China have apparently entered into an agreement to sell and buy oil in their own currencies and not in U.S. dollars. Would this not have made them an enemy of the cabal-controlled shadow government in the U.S. if they were still in full control? Israeli PM, Prime Minister Netanyahu, is on a war rampage against Iran, and yet CBN has touched upon stories coming to light about the truth of Israel and its history, and how the Zionist Jews stole the history of the ancient Irish Druids and made this history their own. Even several Jewish people have come forward indicating that their history is really not their own history. Netanyahu is being progressively backed into a corner, and even Obama is now taking a more aggressive position against Israel in not supporting their little war game. In retaliation, Israel and Mitt Romney are now sleeping together, and both are lining up against Obama and attempting to discredit him and remove him from office. There is certainly more that could be given as examples here. The point, I think, is pretty clear. If there was really a planetary threat, the cabal and their media puppets would not be telling the world about it because it would upset the global markets and their profits. However, since they apparently no longer have much financial control, they are now attempting to create fear by playing the ET invasion card. The question then becomes this: if cabal-controlled institutions are now disclosing the existence of evil ETs after all these years of secrecy and denial, even though they are claiming them to be a threat, why are global media still reporting on potential attacks on Iran and other countries? If an ET threat was as serious as they claim, would it not also be a threat to the cabal leadership and their power structure also? A truly planetary threat would be a reason for the cooperation, not continued fear-mongering, unless the cabal leadership knew already and were working with dark members of our galactic families. Ms. Cassidy posted an update to her blog indicating that 5 hostile ET races had allegedly made a deal with the Bush family, and that 1 had gone rogue. This was apparently a reptilian race. This was alleged to be at least part of the reason for the military display off the West Coast. There appears to be some degree of truth within the report, but for some reason I'm not resonating fully with her report. Part of the hesitation comes from the memory of how she treated Bob Dean in an interview back in March of this year. Kees de Graaf from GalacticChannelings.com ran an article with the transcript and video of this interview between Bob and Carrie, also with Clifford Stone. The most interesting part of the video is from the 33 to the 42-minute mark. Essentially, Carrie and Bob used to interview well together, but on this particular interview, Bob had recently come back from a near-death experience with a very different tone and feeling towards our galactic families. Carrie did not like this because Bob was now talking more about love, and it didn't fit in with her fear-mongering style. She became unusually aggressive towards Mr. Dean. Now, Mr. Dean is a former Command Sergeant Major. If many listeners recall, he is one who has what is called cosmic clearance, which is apparently the highest clearance within the NATO Allied Supreme Air Command. For this reason, among others, I am personally more wary of the material that Ms. Cassidy puts out, although I do look for the bits of truth that feel right to me. Having spoken and interviewed Bob Dean myself, I resonate much more strongly to his truth about our galactic families. I'm wary of accepting Carrie's reports fully at face value. This also leads me to a strong feeling that if this military display is not for the arrest of cabal members, then it may be for a fear-mongered attempt to scare people. Unless my reasoning is way off, and I am not asking anyone to accept my reasoning as sound logic, it appears quite clearly to me that all of this is merely fear-mongering to scare people back into their control. The good news, however, is this. It has been said that when all else fails, the cabal will use the evil ET invasion card to scare the population back into control. Given how desperately they have been covering up the ET story, even as little as a year ago, when the shadow U.S. government responded to a White House petition asking for disclosure, and they replied officially that there is basically nothing, to now declaring that they not only exist, but represent an alleged threat. This could be a strong signal that the cabal must be on its final legs. Only an extremely desperate situation, in my humble opinion, would warrant playing the final card that they have been holding so closely to their chest throughout this whole game. Those who have played poker will understand a poker face and what is called a tell. A good poker player will never reveal through his or her face what she or he has to play with. A tell are the little habits that give away a bluff or a play. The cabal no longer has a poker face to hide behind because the world is now pretty much aware of all their tells, and many around the world are no longer falling for their tricks. I'm not sure about everyone else, but I royally got hit with a wave of energies over the past week or so. These energies affected me in stronger ways than I have recalled feeling in quite some time. I was not only tired, but I had very little motivation, and I was surprised that I was actually able to come up with a newscast last week. The irony is that this past week has been among the most exciting as far as being involved in 2 conferences, announcing a disclosure video to the global leaders, journalists, and citizens of the world, and more. Yet, I was strangely detached and unemotional. It was a rather interesting ride, for sure. CVN touched on a story last week of a portal of energy that opened on September the 9th. The planet-wide 9-9 portal represented a shift in energies, although I did not fully understand what this portal is to represent. An Earth ally with the Galactic Free Press offers this explanation of the portal and what its energies represent for human and planetary consciousness.
On the June solstice, we entered a period where all the timelines were merging into one. The one timeline represents the highest outcome for humanity. This energetic point began the collapse of all timelines which were not in alignment with the highest outcome. As we entered the 9-9 portal, the one timeline was completely activated, and all those who were energetically ready stepped through this portal to begin the next facet of the divine plan, which is peace on Earth. With this planet-wide portal open completely, many events will be occurring at a faster rate. All of these incoming events will be coming together in this one timeline for an event which will herald in the Golden Age and peace on Earth equal heart. The light is shining brightly on this planet. Those powers who were are now panicking as they are discovering no matter what attempts are made, they cannot stop or prevent the light's divine events from manifesting. Within these energies of pure love coming in, all the lies are coming to the forefront to be cleansed by source energy and replaced with the higher frequencies of love. Through this, the truth is coming directly to the forefront. We have entered a light breakthrough energy point, and we cannot go back now. This incoming experience, many who are ready to jump into the new paradigm completely will be catapulted into the present moment of now through a series of synchronistic events. We are indeed in magical moments on this planet for those who are aware of what is actually happening. All is coming into place, and the true freedom of a planet unified in love and the true living presence is the highest outcome which can occur, is now in full effect as a result of this portal.
A link to an article posted by the Galactic Free Press with a bit more info relating to this portal will be posted in the summary. The Galactic Free Press brings information from a wide variety of sources, also contributing to the changing and awakening human planetary consciousness taking place at this time. This week's health story is being directed more specifically to those who are seeking to quit smoking at this time, but are having a hard time doing so. From naturalnews.com this week comes a story published last Tuesday explaining the Mucuna herb as a replacement for cigarette cravings to help people kick the habit. Mucuna is also known by some as velvet bean. The article reports that the L-DOPA content of unprocessed Mucuna bean powder is so powerful that doctors are also using it to restore mental clarity in Parkinson's patients. The extract of the Mucuna bean has high levels of naturally occurring L-DOPA, an amino acid which converts into dopamine. It is being claimed that this bean powder may be a missing rung in a ladder that leads to greater health for many soon-to-be ex-smokers. The scam of the tobacco companies has been revealed, and it is becoming more known that tobacco companies have been able to keep people addicted to their products through the use of ammonia, which aids in the delivery of nicotine to the body. It is claimed that Mucuna could very well be the kryptonite to the super scam of the tobacco companies. It seems that new research is showing that smokers using Mucuna to replace and replenish dopamine levels were often able to permanently quit smoking in 14 days or less, which is often the hardest time of the withdrawal process. Mucuna's secret, the article claims, is that it removes the anxiety and uneasy feelings associated with the first 2 weeks of quitting. Since the nicotine has controlled the body for a long time, most smokers attempting to quit are not aware that their dopamine levels are so low. However, the benefits are not just for the smokers either. L-Dopa allegedly provides a variety of health benefits, including regeneration of organs, improving sleep and immune system function, reduced body fat and cellulite, better skin, mood and general well-being, as well as increased bone density. One other benefit appears also to be an enhanced libido and improved sexual performance for both men and women. If true, this may be a more natural way to improve one's sex life, and for men, perhaps minimize or eliminate the need for pharmaceutical Viagra or Cialis. Use discernment in investigating whether or not this herb is right for you at this time. Links are available to more research in the article, and the link to the article will appear in the show summary posted online. Many years ago, as I was creating the message that would become my work for global peace, called A Green Print for Life, I was exploring ways in which solutions could be implemented in such a way so as to create a domino effect of change, so that money would not have to be wasted on putting out fires, but also money that only gets transferred to the cabal because those fires never get put out. I eventually came up with a structure and a matrix that could perhaps be used as a model for finding solutions to almost any situation or almost any industry. CBN has come across a project that is somewhat similar in its scope, and its focus is on preparing people for the new financial abundance that is claimed will come with the new economic model. The project is called This Is How We Fix the World, and was created by one going by the name of HopeGirl. In her blog, HopeGirl talks about the coming period of abundance and is seeking to generate ideas that will help people to best implement any money received from potential abundance packages so that the world can transform even more rapidly. Her blog is looking for solutions being proposed by ordinary, everyday people. HopeGirl has provided a series of questions, and she acknowledges that the questions may not be easy for some to answer. The suggestion she makes is to look over the questions and then go away to reflect on them. The solutions one comes up with will likely depend upon how big one's particular life path and mission is upon Gaia at this time. Some will find it easy to look at the bigger picture, while others may not. There is no right or wrong. Whatever suggestions one is guided to offering will be in perfect alignment to that individual's path at this time. Here is what HopeGirl has to say about this project.
Hi, this is HopeGirl. I've been asked to complete an important assignment that involves the future of humanity, and I'm sending out the call to all of you to participate. There's a tremendous amount of wealth that's about to be released to the world in the near future. I can assure you this wealth is very real, and its purpose is to help heal the world and usher in our golden age. At this time, there's some very important questions that we need to answer. How do we release this wealth in a way that will heal our planet and our people? How do we use this new abundance to redefine our relationships with each other, our organizations, our industries, our governments, and our planet? In the world of business, any release of funding needs to have a formal request or proposal. There are teams of beautiful people working in unison to create a step-by-step plan of how we're going to release this money to build the bridge to our golden age. This is your opportunity to contribute your ideas. I've posed pointed questions for you to answer and submit. These questions, along with the instructions and form, are located on my blog at hopegirl2012.wordpress.com under the title, This Is How We Fix This World. The deadline is September 24th. Your ideas will then be put together into a presentation that will be given to the people involved in implementing these changes. It will also be published on the Internet for all to read. Please look within your heart to help us answer these questions.
History has shown that many who win a lottery are not able to effectively manage their money well. Although the situation is different and deals with a consciousness shift as well, the principle behind the project aims to align people together in a financial plan of sorts that guides people in how to best use their resources for the highest good of all. The link to her project will appear in the summary to the show. In his most recent message from SaLuSa of the Galactic Federation, Mike Quinsey shares this message with a focus on the changes now taking place. Because everything is in the now, we do not view things as you do, and we see the overall picture, which shows that completion of this cycle will work out as intended. Once you have ascended, then you will move into a new era and benefit from the upliftment in the energies and your greater level of consciousness. All that is due to you by way of changes will rapidly come into being, and at last you will be free from the attention of the Dark Ones. There is no place in the new dimension for anything that is less, and you will be able to feel the heightened vibrations. It will be quite a new experience to know that every other person with you is of the same vibrations, and to be trusted and honest in all of their contact with you. Search around you if you wish to find evidence of the banking situation moving on, as several are now being taken to task over their criminal dealings. What you, the people, have done is to highlight their shortcomings by relentlessly harassing the authorities to take action against them. It is getting publicity, and the net result is that even more of you are awakening, and it is causing much concern amongst the big corporations. They know that people power is capable of achieving results. So whilst these changes are not readily noted, you are obtaining partial success now. Just now, a number of actions that are destined to start the changes are proceeding well, and it is likely that all of a sudden some of them will announce themselves to the media. On the dark side, the warmongers still try to start another world war, but do not be alarmed, as they will not be allowed to do so. We can use whatever powers we have to prevent it, and some of our advanced technology is quite astonishing and absolutely perfect for these purposes. Indeed, we have often used it to keep a relatively peaceful situation on Earth when certain elements would have launched an all-out war against another country. You are safe with us, and we shall continue to fully monitor your Earth. When we need to, we can zoom in on any person wherever they are, so there is no hiding place for the Dark Ones. When it is time to bring them in, we shall waste no time in placing them where they can no longer obstruct the process of ascension. For the time being, we look to you to do whatever is necessary to obtain the authority to take them out of circulation. We know you have experienced problems when you have previously tried to do so, but the situation is changing, and your time has come to take action. You will have our protection and can go forward with confidence. Sheldon Nidle will again be giving his monthly webinar coming up starting on Sunday. The topic this month is called Closing the Circle, Our Return to Full Consciousness. In this webinar, Sheldon will cover where we originally came from and outlines the evolutionary steps that will lead to our genetic activation. The planned topics include activating a changing human genome, a meditation to activate your DNA, who are we, ETs to the present and beyond, the human rebellion, our evolving world in crisis, toward the rise of a new Lemuria, and our 5D future. The first seminar is on Sunday, the 23rd of September, from 12 to 1:30 p.m. Pacific Time, and the second is on Thursday, the 27th of September, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time. For more information and to register for this webinar, you can go to www.paoweb.com/updates.htm. Finally, this week, I would like to issue a more formal challenge to journalists around the world. In my contribution to the disclosure video, I challenged global leaders, saying they do not care about humanity nor the planet. I also challenged journalists in saying that they are now being called to serve humanity and our planet with a greater moral and ethical courage at this time. I challenge global leaders and journalists publicly to stand up and answer the call if they have the courage and the love to do so. To the journalists, I say to you, people of the world are standing up and speaking out and most are doing so with greater love and compassion for humanity and our planet. What will it take for you to stop serving your masters who neither care for you, humanity, nor the planet? Do you now have the courage to honor the morals and ethics that you may have originally brought to the journalistic profession when you started? The people of the world and the planet herself are calling out to journalists to stand up with greater honor, integrity, and courage. I challenge all journalists to go out and create a better version of Cosmic Vision News for the benefit of all. So that is the unfolding consciousness news around the world this week. Cosmic Vision News is a part of the InLight radio group of programs heard at this local time each week. Links to stories in tonight's newscast will appear in the blog at greenprintforlife.org and on the CBN Facebook page as soon as possible after the newscast. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I'm Jeffrey West, reminding you to not let the behaviors of others affect your inner peace. Until our next moment of now, stay grounded in love, hold the vision of light and peace in your hearts, and keep your eyes to the skies. Disclosure is unfolding all around you. Namaste.
Thank You White Knights is supported by ExclusiveWellnessClub.com, home of wellness products for the health conscious such as MMS1 and 2, Lugol's iodine, DMSO, colloidal silver and MSM at ExclusiveWellnessClub.com, shipping outside the United States available. Link below. This is Thank You White Knights and I hope you enjoyed this video. For updates and to go to the source of this article, please find the link below the YouTube screen while watching in YouTube. For the latest news and updates, please visit ThankYouWhiteKnights.com.